What's up, guys? This is Saiyan here, coming at you with another Christmas video. I tend to do kind of like a funny, jokey kind of deck profile, sort of every Christmas or so. This one's maybe, you know, semi-jokey. I mean, it's not going to perform very well, but I've always been interested about Dome of Crystal Seers because it's such a bad card. What you gonna do with this location just for the one measly cost of a resource? So the deck's built around Dome of Crystal Seers. Wow, what the hell is he doing? Okay, first of all, let's look at the positives. The artwork is absolutely beautiful. It's such a wasted artwork on a card. A card that never gets played. What does it give to the player? Well, as an interrupt, when you search your deck, search an additional 3 cards. And you're kind of stuck in the Eldar Tau or Eldar Dark Eldar faction. Dark Eldar doesn't really have any card searches, really. Eldar has a couple, so we're going to try and maximize that, and we'll bring in Tau as well to try and get the most out of Dome of Crystal Seers. Because, why search your deck for 6 cards when you can search your deck for 9 cards, 12 cards, 15 cards or so with your Earthgas Technician, which we're running 3 of. So, if you got like 2 Dome of Crystal Seers out, you're gonna double up the search radius of the ECT. Dig down to 12 cards to find an attachment or a drone. We're not running any drones, but we're running a bunch of attachments, so you are hopefully going to be running into at least one, but ideally more than one. So that's our first main card, and then of course you gotta run the Swordwind Farseer. I haven't really talked about our Warlord yet, but you will see in a second. Obviously, Swordwind Farseer allows us to search the top 6 for any card. Any card is pretty good. The idea is that the Swordwind Farseer is going to get us additional domes because we want all the domes, every single dome we can get our hands on. And then turns out the prototype crisis suit is not loyal, so we're again running a 3 of. When you deploy this unit, search top 9 cards of your deck for up to 2 Tau attachments with print cost 2 or lower and attach them to this unit. So there's potentially a lot of value to be found with that. You can get an additional 4 costs worth of attachments onto this unit. So I'm gonna obviously talk about what the PCS and the ECT can find in the deck, and again, we're just widening that search range with the dome. And then here you go. Obviously, this will be a very strong clue who our warlord is. We are running the Wisdom of the Serpent. So, no denying it any further, we're running Talyesin. So we kind of want the Psychers and the Warriors. What's cool about the Sword and Force here, it is a Psyker, so it kind of works with that. And what's cool about the Wisdom of the Serpent is that in every single HQ action, we can exhaust this support and choose Psyker or Warrior, then search the top 3 cards, and if you find a card with the chosen trait, you can reveal it and put it onto your hands. Now, on the surface, this card is usually, I mean, you would have to really stack the deck with Psychers and all that stuff, but obviously we already have Scholars, Pilots, all that stuff here. So again, Dome will just help us to make that 3, 6, perhaps 9 cards, maybe even 12, which is quite unlikely, but another card that's got a great art, to be fair. I do like the art on this card quite a lot. So we all in all have 10 cards that can be significantly enhanced with the Dome of Crystal Seers. I mean, again, I say this is not a good deck, but we're kind of like just running with the meme as is. So now that we've looked at all the cards that we are trying to, maximize, trying to beef with the Dome of Crystal Seers, let's look at, first of all, what attachments can be found by the prototype crisis suit and also potentially by the Earthgas Technician. So immediately, 3 iron rifles, obviously, that's a must-have. Just +3 attack on any unit is absolutely amazing. Ideally, we want to find this with the Prototype Crisis suit. We not necessarily really want to find this with the ECT, because we'll have some other stuff that the ECT can still fetch for us. The best card to get on the Crisis suit will be the Missile Pod. I absolutely love this card, not only just because it has a purple background, and the purple is my favorite color, but also because it is really cool as a deploy action. You can use it as a deploy stall. You can either blow up a support or deal 3 damage to a unit in the HQ. Super versatile either way you go, and if you get just one of these for free onto the Prototype Crisis suit, I think that's, in this deck, definitely a win. uh, and so there's only these 6 cards that you can hit with the Crisis suit. I really thought about including a Crude Hunting Rifle, and I will certainly probably encourage myself, if I ever look at this deck again, to try and make it a little bit more consistent, a little bit more useful. I think the Crude Hunting Rifle is definitely another good option, but it's no Missile Pod, it's definitely no Ion Rifle either. We also have the signature attachment of Taliesin, which is the Autarch Power Sword, attached to a unit you control, so that can go into Taliesin as well. It's kind of a shame that only army units will get the Warrior and Psyker trait. It would be really cool if Taliesin could like beef itself. But either way, attached unit gets +1/+1, and even that, like a 3/6 Taliesin, is a pretty big obstacle to deal with, because Taliesin is one of those warlords that needs to go into battle, so making that a pretty difficult warlord to pilot in some cases, because you know she's always going to be in the Fire Knight. He, I don't know, hard to say. Um, but we can find this with the ECT, or even with the Sword from Farseer. And then finally, just to allow us to kind of fly around and get our units where they need to be, get our units to where they can be buffed by the Warlord, we're running 3 Saiyan jet bikes. Fantastic card. Why run mobile units if you can just run the same Han jet bike anyway? It's a 2-show card, which is already good. Again, cannot be attached with the Crisis suit, but it can be found by the ECT or the Sword and Farseer. And it's a really, really good card. You exhaust the attachment to move attached unit to a planet with the same type that is on this planet, and then you deal 1 damage to an army unit at the planet where you arrive. So that's really cool. That really allows us to bring our units to where Taliesin is, and then just generally move them about without having to worry about any specific kind of shenanigans. Just a good little just a good little staple for Eldar decks, I think, in general. So that's it for the attachments, running 10 attachments, which doesn't leave a lot of space for events, but we are, of course, running the 2 signature events, Path of the Leader. Worst case scenario, you make a money, or you can give +1 attack to a warrior, or you can move a Psyker, uh, exhaust the Psyker unit you control to move it from one planet to another. So again, it's just kind of like a backup Saiyan jet bike. But I think all the options are good, and I generally like cards that allow you to have a lot of options. I mean, if you just think like compare this to Ethereal Wisdom, that's a 0-cost event. All it does is that it gives one of your units +1 attack, and it gives them the Ethereal trait. Whereas here, you get that +1 attack onto a warrior, but you can also potentially use it for Psyker movement, or just cash it in, make an extra money, to be able to perhaps play 1 copy of Even the Odds. We got 3 copies of Even the Odds here. Fantastic card. I love this card so much. Super versatile. You can, of course, use it to move iron rifles off the Crisis suit if they get kind of stuck on the Crisis suit. But also it can be super good to use it on your opponent's units. And you can use like any So it's just like an action. You can use it basically in any action window. Move a target attachment to another eligible unit you control by the same player, so you can do a bunch of shenanigans. Again, if you don't have a lot of like space for events, you kind of want to have a card that's as versatile as possible, and I think even the odds definitely checks that box really well. Absolutely love that card. And then I'm running 3 copies of Gift of Isha because it's a 2-shield card, and I kind of felt a little bit naked only running the Saiyan jet bikes, particularly that you'd ideally want to play that card rather than use it for shields. Gift of Isha can sometimes be useful. I think one of the best ones is on like a Farseer, for example, where you actually do get extra value out of it, and you can search your deck for extra cards. But we also have a couple more army units to look at, so bear in mind that um, I think all the other cards in the deck are Eldar. Yes, no, they are not. The only units that we cannot gift of Isha besides the ECT and the PCS are 3 copies of Vashia Trailblazer. And there's 2 reasons why we got the Vashia Trailblazer in her. Is A, because it's a 2-hammer unit with the mobile effect. So again, we're just quadrupling up on this whole thing about mobility, being able to move our cards around. A Vashia Trailblazer with an iron rifle is always really cool, giving you that flexibility to push it wherever you want to battle. If you got, obviously, if you can either protect it or you got priority in that battle. But also, what's really cool about the Trailblazer is that it's the only other target where you can attach a missile pod because it's attached to a pilot unit. Was it pilot or vehicle? So it can go on these 2 cars because they're both pilots. So yeah, these guys can't be Gift of Isha, but realistically, again, just being able to Gift of Isha the Sword and Farseer is pretty good. In terms of other Psychers, we have the 2 Taliesin's Warlocks, which are 2 of the signature units against Psyker. Solid card. It's a 3-2 for 3 investment, which is not the greatest, but you can discard a warrior from your hand as a combat action to ready this unit. So that's where it doesn't quite pass the vanilla test as a like a 3 cost. Normally you want to see 3-3 with a hammer, but I think that's a very solid combat action. Any unit, any sort of effect that allows you to ready one of your units is always good. And of course, we do have to run the 3 card. Well, we don't have to run the Water Destructor. We're a bit crazy not to run the best Psyker unit for Eldar. It's just a fantastic unit. It's a 2 cost 3-4 with a hammer. Yes, it can cost you money, or you have to discard it, but Warlock Destructor usually locks down a first planet combat situation. It's a really good target for a Gift of Isha as well because it doesn't stay around to then tax you for money, and most importantly, it's a Psyker. So it's actually a 3-4, but it's a 3-5 on the same planet with Taliesin. If you get a warrior, that it's a 4-5 where Taliesin is, which is absolutely fantastic. 4-5 is just really strong. And you can perhaps potentially move it around with the same jet bike as well. You can whack on an iron rifle. You can do a bunch of shenanigans. That's really cool. So this is our Psyker lineup. We got 8 Psychers. We got a little bit more warriors for 2 reasons. A, we might want to discard for the Taliesin's Warlocks. So you kind of want to have already a slightly higher count. So we got 2 Taliesin Spiders, which is a 2 cost 2-3 with a hammer. Fairly decent stats for a 2 cost card, and as a reaction after a Psyker unit you control is declared as an attacker, you can move this unit to the same planet as that unit. So what you kind of want to do is use the spiders to sort of gain commands on other planets. Keep a Psyker with Taliesin. Wherever Taliesin goes, you want to make sure there's a Psyker there, and then just as a reaction you can move the spider over there, and immediately Taliesin's effect is going to trigger, and that Psyker is now not going to be hitting with its original attack value, but it's going to get that +1 because you now got a warrior on that planet as well. That's really cool. that's kind of what we're looking to achieve with the Saiyan jet bike as well, to kind of get both our psychers and warriors to do whatever they want to do, but then we can bring them together for battles wherever Taliesin is. I'm running 3 copies of the Shrouded Harlequin. It's a 2-cost 2/1 warrior with a hammer. On the surface, it doesn't look very hot, but it has an interrupt when this unit is destroyed. Exhaust a target enemy unit at a planet of your choice. So I had to reread this card so many times to finally figure out what the actual power is in there. Because of course he has 1 health, because you want it to die. But when he dies, it can tap anything. You know, it's just a target enemy unit, so that can be anything. That very important. That can be the warlord or a synapse or any unit can be tapped by this guy when it's killed, which is absolutely fantastic. Another really good target for Gift of Isha, and also because you can discard it for the warlocks and then bring it back with Gift of Isha, you kind of don't feel like that you're losing a card. Although yeah, obviously it's a lot of investment that goes into that, but it kind of like just works with that sort of kind of slow your opponent down a little bit, and particularly tapping a warlord or tapping a really beefy big ass elite unit is fantastic. Of course, it does have to be destroyed, and that was kind of one of the things that I kind of realized, that you can actually bring somebody over with the jet bike and deal a damage to the Harlequin, kill the Harlequin, and then tap somebody, step one of your opponent's units, because the Simon jet bike just says, then deal 1 damage to an army unit at this planet. So you can actually just go there, kill the Harlequin, tap something, bring it back with a Gift of Isha, battle with it again. Hopefully it dies again. You can tap something else again. So there's a little bit of a combo in there that you can do. And then rocking 3 Eldritch Corsair, just kind of like a nice beefy unit. Again, stepwise on the surface is not great, but again, if you can bring it in where Taliesin is, this is like one of the prime targets for a same Hunja bike, to be honest. Your Eldritch Corsair, make sure it's always where your Warlord is, and then when it arrives there, it's all of a sudden it's a 5/3. And that's strong. 5/3, maybe 6/3 if you play the event. What was it called? The Path of the Leader. 5/3, 6/3. That's all pretty solid for a 3-cost if you can, get all your stars to align. And then finally, just a bit more of a kind of like a command unit. Obviously, it's a staple for Eldar. The Biel-Tan Guardians. It's a 1/1 for 1 with 2 hammers. It's just kind of like just an all-star. It just happens to be a warrior. That's pretty cool too. So it obviously has that synergy with our psychers and our warlord in the deck. But again, this is just like like a silly little deck. Again, kind of like just janking it. There might be a couple of valid little combos in there, but it was just like hey, why not have Dome of the Crystal Seers in the deck? So that's what I've done. Let me know what you think. Peace. Merry Christmas.